Preface of the Poems of James Hebblethwaite. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Adrian Stevens. The Poems of James Hebblethwaite. Preface. Farewell, my muse. Our days are almost gone, and we have sung a little of our heart, its passion and its ruth. Why linger on? Why stay? For we must part, as all do part. Essential soul, pure, perilous, and bright, I imaged thee, and, underneath the sky, this roof of azure blue and sunshine white, built thee fair towers that shadowed from on high. And we have heard the thunder of the feet of great Apollo's horses, with desire climbing unhasting to their palace seat, in the fierce blaze of their undaunted fire. And while the twilight heavens were flowering far with angel glows, that love for love to burn, we sang the flitting swallows on the bar with songs of Hellas for their glad return. And we have known a mighty chivalry quest down the dreaming woodland for the Grail, whose cohort of bright seraphim they see, lighting the patrimonies of the vale. And we have touched the unessential heart, that with sad knowledge of no farewell sigh, lingering a while, reluctant to depart, goes groping dumbly for some place to die. And an imperial use have we essayed, to give the wanderer songs and sense of home, to keep that memory green when all things fade, to waft his children o'er the ocean foam, to wake the longing of the native born, to see the meadows of that far-off strand, to tread those ruined isles grey and forlorn, yet still the more to love his own dear land. If we have sung of grief, 'tis not to daunt, but to enlarge the heart with pity's tears. If in the past we've sought each tender haunt, 'tis but to face the future without fears. What gain from life through which we darkling rush? Oh, hardly got. Be good, be glad, be pure, live in the might that flows from the soul's hush. Be pitiful, create, learn to endure, urge headlong through the billowing, boundless deep, the stallions of the passions, free, unmaimed, but under rule imperious, and keep their flaming frontlets to heaven's gate unblamed. Ah, we have wandered on the silent shore, and tenderly have swung a passing knell for those dear lovers who will come no more. Muse, are we of these times? Farewell, farewell. End of Preface. Section 1. A Cradle Song by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. Now rides the moon, a silver boat, sailing upon a deep blue sky, while trembling signal stars afloat mark where the ships at anchor lie. O moon, ahoy! The captain's here! Open your clear and curving side, and on the poop, without a fear, will rove for aye the ocean tide. Ah, no, you are too strange for me, too wan for my sweet tender guest. Our baby's voyaging must be, in dreams, upon his mother's breast. End of section 1. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 2. Mushrooms by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. The sun-white clouds were still upon the breast of Parlick Fell, shadowing a lonely sunshine land of elmy field and dell, with eyes cast down in childhood's want, for wondrous things and new. We saw the mushrooms' fairy tops, whitening the grey sweet dew. Our wicker nets we filled with them, laughing and calling both, but oh, we gathered magic too, culled with that mystic growth. End of section 2. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 3. The Children's Minuet by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. Ah, this is our holiday. Trip it with laughter again, then gracefully bend in a mode that is olden, and dance to the minuet strain. Slow, slow, silent and courteous, stately the minuet goes, and sweet the refrain to the youths and the maidens, in satin and powder and rose. See, just for a moment, the old world is with you again, and now it has vanished, and we are but children who dance to the minuet strain. End of section 3. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 4. Merrymind by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. Merrymind, Merrymind, whither art thou roaming? Merrymind, Merrymind, nay, art thou sleeping yet? O to us, sweet minstrel dear, wilt thou not be homing? Or we shall forget. Vale of toil, so drear and waste, hear him now advancing, playing on the golden strings, the midnight maiden's gift. Breaks the sunshine on the hills, the princess falls to dancing in her silken shift. Oh, the joyfulness and kissing of that fiddle's flowings, giving rest and happiness and laughter delicate. Fling from out this iron world to his merry bowings. Oh, be not too late. Elves that live in far blue glades, gnomes in caverns daunting, wisps that love the moist green earth the sylphs of sunshine made, rugged sylvans of the dale, come with mystic haunting, we are not afraid. Down the ways of faery, from turrets crazy, from the cobwebbed quarrel pane, the grey of the old niche, float the fairy godmothers, comely as a daisy, with their gifts so rich. Lancelot, Lancelot, ride with song and gleaming, robin wind in greenwood shore thy yearning silvery horn. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down thy hair a-beaming, yellow as the corn. O ye swans, ye wild white swans, spread each mighty feather, bearing in the barky net the life of one so dear, urge your lofty pinions through the stormy weather, wing, the isle is near. Imogen, Imogen, in the forest sleeping, lift those lids of heaven's own tinct, of white and azure laced. Rise and cast the flowers aside, what love went to their heaping, with thee we are graced. All the dreams beyond, beyond of a slumbering fairy, all immortal visionings caught on the raptured wing, all the heart of man can love, all his fancies airy, join our joyous ring. Pride be gone, thou hateful curse of narrowed blood and breeding, cruel growth of heaviness and dull cold ignorance. Come thou, golden charity, lend to us thy leading in our sunny dance. End of section 4. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 5. The Schoolboy by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Paul Harvey. The schoolboy, on some vacant summer day, beneath the elm, sees in the rude decay a prior's ancient stone, a memory high, that gives a noble worth to work and play. What joy when dewdrops globe the morning sun, to bathe and roam, and when the day is done, to watch afloat in the pale crescent light the pirate royals mid the palm trees run. And when he kneels on Sunday in the choir, while the dark rays burn into dusky fire, through founders' lofty arms is there no call to faith and valor from his ghostly sire? September sunshine yellow as the leaves, the home returns on red November eves, the queer old lights haunting the crumbling stone, into the fabric of his dreams he weaves, and dear in after muse will be the lore, caught from the murmurings of the Latin shore, old balming of life's melancholy gold, dim quiet grief at peace forevermore. End of section 5. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Paul Harvey.
Section 6. The Land of Heart's Desire by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Oh far away beyond the hills, over the level line of fairy sills, the dwellers of the plain of pleasure gaze in sad remembrance of the ancient days. In that old time the womb of morning bare a purer gleam than ours, a thinner air, and very earth was sown with light that grew, upbreaking into founts of living blue. The old brown cabins nested on the earth, a quiet folk of rustic love and mirth. Lily and rose were in the women blent, the heart of song with all the people went. For primal voices still were heard around from beast and bird, and in the solemn sound of moving waters, and the gentle breeze gave mystic meanings to the leaves of trees. Lit with a shyer gold than that of noon, pure angel heads lean to the rising moon. To us they are but clouds with kindling fleece, to them they were soft harbingers of peace. The seasons flowed with song and laughter sweet, and lightly passed the hours with flying feet. But by the winter hearth they gathered all their wan romance in music's dying fall. And mothers knelt above their children's nest, or held the loved one to the deep cleft breast, lest the green people of the forest wild should change the babe for a dark fairy child. Ah, if some human bud were rapt away, what watchings by the ford at noon of day, when leaves were broad and long, in flame and shade, and love had power upon the fairy raid. Beyond, beyond, low in the quiet west, in twilight region, lay a land of rest, of passioned rest, untouched by passion's stings, beneath calm-featured forms with folded wings. At times a still small voice was heard to call, naming some one on lasting sleep to fall. So death came then, the summoned one arose, and passed alone, untroubled by dim foes. But when some girl in beauty's early flower heard in the rumor name and so brief hour, and turned to say farewell, her lovers true went all the way and made death name them too. They come no more, they will not come again, those far-off days of old romantic pain. For faith is dying, beauteous things are fled, the heart of man to love and song is dead. End of section 6. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 7. Deirdre's Lament by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. Farewell, Alba. Farewell, O eastern land. No other isle can fairer be than Alba's island is to me, where noble Nacy kissed and held my hand as we went walking on the yellow strand. Farewell, O summer sea. Farewell, Alba. thy woodland violets, delaying, made a royal bed for the repose of a dear head, sweeter, O far, than the Altonian nets of webby gossamers that bring dim frets, and dreams of the old dead. Farewell, Alba, the harvest of the glen, the dawning swish of scythe and hook, the noontide rest within the nook. The flowing ale and song is butt and ben, and Nacy calling me from drinking men for love behind the stook. Farewell, Alba, the soft blue dusk of eve, the children with their golden hair, tangled with fur from some dim lair, their warm white limbs dispread, while minstrels weave around the fire the foray of Queen Maeve, O brooding children there. Farewell, Alba, I weep to leave thee so, thy willows bowed o'er love's desires, where pale the embers of our fires, and glades are long, and winding waters flow. O whispering winding waters, how they go beside the shiling byres. Farewell, Alba, farewell, our cloven tower, where the waves sang unto our ear, without a note of wailing fear, and, O farewell, our woven reedy bower, where more than moons arose in the loved hour, and stole the silent deer. Farewell, Alba, not nameless shalt thou be, though grass shall grow our graves above, thou wilt have murmurs of our love, for all his days beside the moaning sea. Phelim shall sing our story for a fee, the tears that harpings move. Farewell, Alba, the sons of Usnach call, Fergus hath waked their love of home, and now to Erin they must roam, where the great doom is waiting but to fall, waiting in Uldach in King Conan's hall, waiting beyond the foam. Farewell, Alba, earth open wide thy doors, weep for my beauty, that it brings sorrow upon the sons of kings, beauty that high above all ancient laws of queens magnifical in wonder soars, and blood-red message flings. End of section 7. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 8. The Young Knight's Chant by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. Your love would make a shepherd lad a flame, ennobling every drop within his veins, and famousing for ever his great name beyond all earthly stains. O come, and let the sunshine flush your cheek, else sweetly cold and clear Cecilia's robe of amber light shall dye your breast so meek, and sparkles of wet green the dew shall globe upon your gown, and I will sing of faint reluctancy that longs to pucelage, and for my very saint I'll make romance from an empurpled page for winter winds and rains. Vowards of fame and dantours of the world, in flashing steel our golden flag unfurled, on foamy wet destrairs through the green glade, with lifted ventails, tossing plume and blade, we'll ride with you, our queen, girl of braced drum and spears and knighthood lean. I shall not fear the dungeon, black and strong, within the closed wall, the yearning air that weaves the thin poor grass, if but my song be filled with you, O love, nor shall I care for the faint swallow shadows blown along, when I shall dream you there. End of section 8. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 9. The Land of Greece by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Ah, days that to immortal joy we gave, leisured, unhindered, crowned with a bright dream, Illyrian or by Ilissus' wave. Those hours of childlike gaze at life's soft beam, their friends for fading beauty midst the gleam of noble marbles veined with violet, against a sea of azure, while the stream sang of some thought eluding memory yet, some faint felicity we may not quite forget. White holy order of that purest air, the Parthenon arose, and evermore faming the frieze our chivalry so fair rode, and below in blossomed life they bore the robe of Pallas stained with earth and ore, balming the breeze and musking glorious name, high Salamis and Marathon and more. And as the priests unto the altar came, the white uncorded bulls sank to the thin clear flame. On wings Iberian purple let us fly to the grey isle and winding olive vale, green-bowed Idalium whence comes no sigh, or reedy Cnidus where the gentle gale flutters the garments of the maidens pale, who sing the heroes and their lofty mound. Or we will watch the youth in the vine dale, all crimson-thighed from the rough cistern bound, chanting the satyr song upon the swarded ground. End of section 9. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 10. O White Foam Born by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. White-bosomed one, soul tall and pure, thou memory of the wave, April of blue and laughing lure, yet nobly grave, wake us from sleeping, though but to weeping, weeping. O girl of regal might, O petal pale, wonder of wilding grace, empurpler of the hyacinthine dale, bend thy dear face, and with thy beaming passion our dreaming, O longed for dreaming. O'er isles or continents that hold afar thee of unnumbered sighs, plead that she fill again love's waning star, and yield us burning lips and dewy eyes that now are paling and slowly failing, O failing. End of section 10. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 11. Antigone by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Methought I heard a melancholy sound, a song divine of pure immortal breath, and loitering near the Parthenon I found the mourners of Antigone's lone death, wreathed with wild olive from the sacred grove, where flows the crystal of Castalian fount, the secret home of god Apollo's love, went the fresh youth of valley, plain, and mount. This flower of virgins made a perfect dirge for her who sought so timelessly her grave, and strewed white violets from the ledged verge of Helicon, white as the foamy wave. In that pellucid air they walked along, by marbles graved in gold and fair with frost, of snowy blossoms, and they sang a song of grief for a great house gone down and lost. And so they came, thus sorrowing with tears, to the carved rocky seats before a stage, whereon Antigone's last faltering fears enacted were from an old yellow page. She stood, a delicate and holy thought, clothed in her lovely flesh with gesture sweet, unto the olive land so finely wrought, and all that once had stirred her young heart's beat. Her eyes were full of tears, she did not hear. Her lips that curved for love were pale and mute. Her soul, regretting all that she held dear, was whispering farewell to her low lute. Thus through a dream reluctantly she made her way to death without reproach or cry. For Zeus, this girl so sweet and unafraid, by other law had I foredoomed to die. End of section 11. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 12. Ulysses by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. The wise Ulysses climbs the rude old stair. His wave-worn raft sways idly at his feet. To lift the drooping sail there is no air, and stillness reigns around, save for the beat of the faint ripples that the keystones meet with a lipped sigh. And on the amber floor of weed-grown rock flit golden shadows fleet, and in the light-blown murmurs evermore Ulysses hears a moan for happy days of yore. In silent sunshine lies each winding street, with flowers all garlanded in a rich flow. There comes no voice from the fair palaced seats. The dawn's blue air is in a soft pure glow. From some divinest wellsprings overflow of tender bliss, and in the rainbow dew, and on the statue's limbs of carven snow, and on the columned marble's peachy hue, the glad young morning light trembles and blooms anew. Oh hush, speak not, but list the silvery sound of flutes and pipes, the merry clashing din, the cry of clear sweet voices floating round the temple porch. Oh, can it be a sin to dream Apollo and his shining kin have left the glittering mount in coloured weeds? They slowly loiter past where keen and thin the hot light cleaves the ebon shade. Who leads this train of gentle youth fresh from the flowery meads? Faint haunting winds of sylvan fragrance breathe, the dews of morn about their garments cling, and round their heads light flaming flowers they wreathe, scattering the half-oped buds the children bring, and wavering move in a slow charming ring to sacred song, then on again they roam. Ulysses of their band and clearly sing in ravished harmony. Ah, spring's white foam, ah, leave the house of stone, the green earth is your home. End of section 12. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 13. The Perfumier by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Elsa. Fleeing Darius left among the prairie his cascade of sweet ointments richly dyed with precious pearls and glowing stones of light, club fire and diamond spark, carbuncle. Around the warrior king crowded the Greeks, hard features shadowed by their plumed helms, still grasping shields brightened with splendid realms, but now disdained by blood of battle rigs. Of royal Persia, the Perfumier had old magic scents from the dim mystic east, old fragrance from the heart of a vain feast, perfumes that wake vain memories sweetly sad, and laughing, or with rolling eyes as a gleam, they showed him uses for the cabinet. For Ulysses are not for warriors wed, with dusky blood mingle in sweetest dream. Ah, other days! Great Alexander took and opened the casket's mouth, and softly slipped within its depths old Homer's manuscript, not being too costly for that precious book. End of section 13. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 14. Saint Ptolemy by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. There was a king called Ptolemy. He sent across the violet sea to Athens, and in golden days brought home of Aeschylus his plays. A royal treasure for the loan he lost for aye without a moan, and poured before the poems wine, and gave them honours half divine. And Athens meditated war upon the kingly thief afar, but let with time her soreness heal, for he could fight as well as steal. So, loving much, he was forgiven, and set within the bookman's heaven. Now may there ever sinless be such lovers as Saint Ptolemy. End of section 14. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 15. The Forest by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Once as I lay a-sleeping beneath an ancient oak, there stole to me a maiden, one of the sylvan folk. Pale sweet her face as a moonbeam that through the forest slips. Beneath her hair's twin darkness she kissed my dreaming lips. End of section 15. This recording is in the public domain.
Section 16. Perdita by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. The sea coast of Bohemia is pleasant to the view, when singing larks spring from the grass to fade into the blue, and all the hawthorn hedges break in wreaths of purest snow, and yellow daffodils are out, and roses half in blow. The sea coast of Bohemia is sad as sad can be. The prince has ta'en our flower of maids across the violet sea. Our Perdita has gone with him, no more we dance the round upon the green in joyous play, or wake the tabor's sound. The sea coast of Bohemia has many wonders seen. The shepherd lass wed with a king, the shepherd with a queen. But such a wonder as my love was never seen before. It is my joy and sorrow now to love her evermore. The sea coast of Bohemia is haunted by a light, the memory fair of her sweet eyes, the fame of her brave knight. The princes seek its charmed strand, but it was our Nell, when o'er the sea our Perdita went with young Florizel. The sea coast of Bohemia is not my resting place, for with her waned from out the day a beauty and a grace. Oh, had I kissed her on the lips, I would no longer weep, but live by that until the day I fall to shade and sleep. End of section 16. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 17. Violets by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Elsa. Roses red of royal blood, yellow with the memory flight, from them silken folds and dust, chromosier fell the rust. Moss or blush or scarlet stripe, love your praise heart while and pipe. Nancy sweet and daffodils, cowslips from the meadow hills, from roses with their cool smell, hyacinths from musky dell. Pardon, if with dreaming bliss, violets in love I kiss. End of section 17. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 18. Shakespeare's Tomb by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Andrew Gaunce. Oh, call the passioned heart, the dreaming hand, and we will fashion for his bones a tomb, letting the marbler time smooth with a gentle touch the fretted bloom, and guard it with a band of those who live so greatly in his rhyme. Pale Desdemona, pure Cordelia, sweet Rosalind of tender forest play, Miranda of the Isle, and Juliet with eyes still dewy wet. And roughened there shall kings of hoary balm, proud peers and prelates, spring from massy stone, making withal a stately chant and moan for him who sleeps above in centuried calm. End of section 18. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 19. Forest Finds by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. I wander round the hearths when eve is late, of old unlatchers of the forest gate, and oh, my heart swells with a plenitude of some vague sorrow over their far fate. Who would not roam when leaves are fledged and take love's elegies from Arden's forest brake? Remembering Rosalind, gone by and dead, ah, bitter pang of sweet celestial ache. When in the sunshine faint the shadows fade, and leaves float down before rude winter's raid, I love to find in an old stoop of stone, ghostly from ancient showers, worn bud and blade. I walk at eventide with pilgrim feet to the lone ground so melancholy sweet, where love let fall earth's raiment for the morn, and all the rarer dreams of sorrow meet. End of section 19. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 20. Youth Dreams of Sepulchres by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. With book in friend, let me grow old and draw a quiet breath as shadows lengthen and the slope runs down to dusky death. With open eyes for the pure forms haunting the heart of things, and ears for secret charities afloat on angel wings. So pass my life in those calm days, eternal thoughts my theme, persuading earthly joy and grief into a perfect dream, and in the solitary hills, by a lone churchyard gate, and low embattled tower and wall, God's kindly time I'll wait. There sheep would feed about my grave, the scythe flame in the corn, the lark rise singing to the blue, the peewit call forlorn. Oh, nameless there would I be laid, in that green quiet place, not without tears, and so farewell, mute unresisting face. End of section 20. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 21. Meadow-Land by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Dreaming upon the day in the still eve, with half-closed eyes I see thy haunted dales, thy lanes and dripping streams, and here I leave the city's grime for thy wet golden trails. Thy clocks of thistledown, thy crannied rills, beneath the sunlight on the heather hills. Within those grey and softly lighted halls, the ribble murmuring by the low-browed door, now music's morning melancholy falls, and gently peopled is the mirrored floor. And hand in hand, under the flower-wreathed lamps, they thread with happy hearts the stately dance. Surely that ford of shame and grieving sings for sainted Henry on the forest low, withered with raining tears those elfin rings, knowing that sourest pang betrayals woe. Poor soul! Through the dewed lands one sunshine day, he rode with sorrow to the south away. End of section 21. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 22. J.H. by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Wistful the olden time comes back, and oft of him I dream, who bore my name at Agincourt, beside that morning beam, famed Harry on St. Crispin's day, when the French chivalry went down before the starved band of bowmen from the sea. He loved the belling heart beneath the green and whispering trees, soft checkerings on ancient sward, the peaceful forest breeze. His lady, slender, sweet, and gay, dreamed in the twilight room of his return from hound and spear through the eve's amber gloom. They were the gentle visitants of visionary hours. They mingled with the loves and fears of childhood's happy bowers. His sword is laid beneath his head, his lady sleeps full fast, and I salute them o'er the years, of all their race the last. End of section 22. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 23. Old Christmas by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Reeded and gilt the organ looms to a surmounting crown. The candles star vague golden glooms within the panel brown. Strange pallors haunt the crumbling walls from the deep windows snow. The poppies on the carven stalls in sleepy crimson blow. And greener holly never shone with clustered berries red than that so softly bright upon beauty and valor's bed. And now the folk from worship fare and part down the white ways, and in the darkening winter air ruddy the home lights blaze. Old cronies draw about the flame, and in the rose-red blooms tell ghostly tales of knight and dame haunting the dusky rooms. The maids in silken splendor gowned, their eyes full of love's light, gaze at the gallants bending round in gold brocade and white. O Christmas of the ancient date, listening for tones long fled, we hear thy gossip delicate in memoirs of the dead. End of section 23. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 24. The Haunted Priory by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Paul Harvey. The music of the waits died on the moor, in murmuring echoes of sweet plaintive sound, and with a moan the wind stole by my door and passed without along the snowy ground. Above each hooded stone that marks the dead, the moonbeams seemed to whisper, "This is best," and deeper slumber touched the quiet head, and deeper patience calmed the sunken breast. Within the Yule light danced upon the oak, on the white mistletoe and the red gleam of hollyberry, and upon the folk in the black frames of old and tarnished beam. My cheek sank to the pillow for a space of happy thinking, but a sighing breath awoke me, and I saw her clear, pure face, dark sweet as night, as thoughts of love and death. Ashes of yellow roses filled her hands. She bowed above them, fading from my sight. And now I haunt the ways of shadowy lands, and watch the portals of the dreaming night. End of section 24. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Paul Harvey.
Section 25. The Old Scots Tales by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. What happiness beside the low, the ripe red glowing cave, to watch the turf heaps crumble down and hear the tempest rave. Oh, while the shadows dance and creep in the dusk golden light, close round and tell the old Scots tales and daff away the night. They are compact of many things, the murmur of the ford, sweet love and tender fantasy, the long sigh of the sword. I love their talk of plough and kine, of kisses in the nook, their melancholy, strange and wild, their reverence for the book. End of section 25. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 26. The Happy Life by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. I sing not armour in the light, burning within the forest night, nor foray in the sunshine white of April weather, but of the happy life I croon, led by a long and lazy loon, when summer skies are mild and boon, amid the heather. His Watman paper, sable paint, he loves as ever monkish saint loved missal gold for the page quaint of gospel story, and joyously he tells his beads, his colours' names, while golden reeds whisper, and morning dews are seeds of garnered glory. The soft old red of Venice sails, the ancient earth of Umbrian vales, the sepia of Adrian gales, and sunset yellow, that stain of Eden's infant blue, lapis lazuli, crimson hue, and Indian purple, olive too, so grave and mellow. He dreams of beauty, day and night, of trees with blossoms, winged and light, of solitudes, wind pure and bright, and peace unbroken. Landscapes with cattle, white and roan, lacework of grey and russet stone, and groinings, doors set deep and lone, with mystic token. For him the boys dance in the flood, salt green and crimson as of blood, and water lights play on old wood with idle shimmer. And all his heart with trembling goes to wear in phantom gold and rose Rome of the antique sleepy woes grows ever dimmer. End of section 26. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 27. A Friendly Place by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. When in my mood I seek a cell for charmed meditation deep, my fancy's wearing weaves a spell, and holy day I keep. My heart's great shrine is of old oak, my panels dark like ruby wine, my tapestries of hunter folk, my bay of crystalline. My bureau comes from a girl's bower, her perfume lingers faint from far. My tall boy shines like a fire flower or a vague golden star. My viola da gamba leans upon a lute by Annabelle, or on a virginal by queens, touched in their passion pale. End of section 27. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 28, Old Porcelain by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by Elsa. Love in my heart I find for those who kiss a jar of heart and bloom, the gift of spring to a sweet rose, now sleeping in the tomb. Mute content for daily view, a pot with a pink peach or mount, a slender vase of wavy blue, with dragons ramping round. Of Celadon, the age of song, I do desire a peacock set, which yellow of the days of young, the hours I could forget. Of blue and white of Kang, one must, of course, have perfect pieces 5, or those in whose seed golden dust the lizards seem alive. Now here are joys that cannot fade, a roof part for a lady bride, a bowl for tea on a stain of jade, a beaker tender white. Ah, wild old China made so fair, the acting of a bird's wild hour, the azure of the summer air, the lilac of the flower. End of section 28. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 29, Song by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. There dwelt a king in Babylon, Babylon, Babylon. There dwelt a king in Babylon the great. And Apame, that laughing girl, sunny bright of eye and curl, sweet with youth, that laughing girl, struck him with her hand. She took his crown from off his head, not of which could strike one dead. She took his crown from off his head, and set it on her own. Darius gaped upon the lass, for laugh and tear she was his glass. He loved his kingdom for this lass, his crown fell at her feet. End of section 29. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 30, Pierrot by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Pierrot cries below, dim in the vale, where the night winds blow, with a thin wail. Wistfully he goes, sad to depart, folding a pink rose close to his heart. Now his mandolin throbs in thick sighs, for the might have been of paradise, not the shining plains in the dawn's set, but the sweet disdains of Pierrette. Gone the lightsome hair, where more is meant, thin is the face with care, faded the scent, lone his pilgrim fate, passioning, vain, haunting, delicate, with languid pain. She lies in her grave, and while he kneels, from the winsome nave the teardrop steals. Roses red as wine seek for their nest the sweet dividing line of her young breast. End of section 30. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 31, The Library by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Bring from the old treasuries the diamond globe of royal kings, or from the plashy shore dim-crusted ingots, or the Tyrian robe, empurpled alchemy, that evermore is balmed with sovereign dreams. Yet for the lore, closed in this mellow space, they may not be a ransom. Yea, though the flaming foray bore from fatherlands of peace immortal fee, and dragon-guarded gold from oozings of the sea, here pumice-smooth reclines the roll embossed that sings of Helen from the battled wall, gazing on the Greek helms and spears uptossed, and of Achilles mourning the red fall from the mort whiteness of the virgin tall, and of the pale dark girl so pure and sweet, in Scheria amid the festival wandering, or where the sea and river meet, weeping with bosom tears the shame of her heart's beat. Yea, loiter here to see the passioning of earth's great souls pontifical, a dream of human valor soaring on love's wing, and faint with mystic incense, odored beam, pause in the thick of monumental gleam, full of the last sad sweetness of dim woe, and in the stillness watch the souls that stream from aisle and chapel, helm and bannered row, with thoughts no clothing words can to another show. Lo, here the hours of a young girl of France, close clasped in wormy oaken boards, that knew the silver flash of Pharamond's light lance, the shepherd's calendar as clear as new, original, immaculate to view, and poems lyric pastoral in green, bringing again the scent of vernal dew, trodden by those who shall no more be seen, the shepherd lovers true of a fair rustic queen. And here be leisures delicate and brown, breathing from ancient prints a soothing sleep, and idling with the uncared face and town in placid sunshine, softly calm and deep. And there by the old flambeau horn, oh peep at blushing beauty lighting from her chair, and loveless bending with a heart at leap, white periwig above the perfumed hair, ready for that pure rose all rival swords to dare. Ah, heaven! The folios clad in orient blue, Madonna blue, and those in sunset red, of an imperial saint, or the dark hue from the dream-fading sheen of a cope shed, have fair large prefaces by men long dead, telling of loiterings and of slow delay, and here from joy those nameless ones are fled, and from their leaves rise odors of decay, faint precious mustiness as sweet as early May. So in this hollow nest of fashioned age, morn music breaks upon the slumbering dust. Soft is the light as from a vellum page, made rich and beautiful with time's worn rust. And here I read of faith that keeps life's trust, endures its manage, yet can follow dream, confronting with heroic will fate's must, lifting all nature to the light and gleam that shone on Galilee and Golgotha's wan stream. End of section 31. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 32. To Francis Thompson. By James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. In mine own town thou camest to thy birth, immortal Francis, and beyond the sea, an exile from that corner of dear earth, I give thy memory all the poet's fee. Lament, O pure and deep, a sacred aftermath of sighs and tears, for sorrow's spell and sleep, the unavailing sighs for early biers, the ribald murmuring of romantic dreams, of proud old names gone from the use of day, with tranquil lapse and shallow pebbly streams, flows by the Avonham of a child's hid play, and was for feigning on in wonder of the heart's first wilding beat, thy perfect Helicon, and fountained source of memories shy and sweet. Ah, Preston, and the lingering afterlook, proud Preston of a vague antiquity, where old-time relics tarried in each nook, abrood with evanescence, where each tree was loved with passioning. Be prouder now of this great son of thine, who with heaven's choir doth sing, and in the kingdom drinketh Christ's new wine. He knew the fainter pad of meadow old, the watered hedgerows dim with wonderment, and tumbled in the daisies o'er the gold of wavering buttercups, and smiling bent above the primrose bank, the rarer cowslip of the open field, nay, loved the tangle rank of docks and nettles which quaint corners yield. The sunny graveyard ridged with grassy mounds of aged Penwortham's green woodland cell, he wandered in and climbed its bricky bounds, and drank the water clear of Mary's well. And at the evening chimes, sounding across the river in the air of twilight's saddest time, he shook before a vision radiant, fair. As pilgrims after prayer at holy shrines repose in dreams beneath the scented red of blowing roses and the slanting lines of drifting blossom, he now makes his bed in paradisial light, within the murmur of the waves that flow from the great throned white, crooning the songs the wavelets whisper low. The Christ who bore the sins of all the world, and all its sorrows on the bitter tree, empurpling it with his great flag unfurled, was thine, O Francis, for thy heart and knee. And when the Lord shall fare, and summon earth from the rapt cherub blaze, thy potent will be there, crowned with the exults of the poet's bays. Up like a golden flame upon thy way to feudatories of great dreaming lands, where in the leisure of unending day shall eager faces of the angel bands, with hair blown in the wind, peer o'er the pageantry of victoried light. With passion unconfined, at thoughts the seraphim might burning write. How shall we build thy sepulchre's dim realm, cornered with mighty angels in strict guard, brooding beneath the gloom of crowned helm, armored and sworded for the imperial bard, darkened magnificence? Ah, no, not these, but flowers flame-winged and bright shall deck thy passing hence, babe buds to follow thee with infant light. O that great chase of God upon the soul, through majesties of morning, cloud, and flame, wherein abysmal dark things formless roll, and oh that gentle calling of the name, the swift insistent feet, the tender violence of ardent love, the offering sad and sweet, and the calm rapture to the heights above. The holy perfume of love's passing wing, the splendor of his glowing unseen eyes, thou hast divined, and many hearts shall sing in the pure consolation of thy sighs. And now farewell, farewell. The funeral pyre of days yearns for thy breath to chant her golden knell, but thou art gone beyond the touch of death. End of section 32. This recording is in the public domain.
Section 33, The Cathedral, by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Paul Harvey. The summer noon curves for a little space into a statued porch profound with gloom, like a gray cavern in a mountain face, and leaving all the sunshine and the bloom. Adown the aisle I pass receding doors, withdrawn, recluse on overwritten floors. The forest echoes in the branched night to my slow footfalls in the casement high. Gleam angel robes, green gold as chrysolite, or red as sand, the pomp of those who lie in desuetude, no longer passionate, but reconciled to sleep enduring fate. From niched place the prelates of the soul lean in the leisured smoke of tendered eve. With morning gesture gentle echoes roll from the far closing gate, and shadows leave the lofty apse, and dim each trefoiled sign, veiling the Eucharistic corn and vine. End of section 33. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Paul Harvey.
Section 34. Elia by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. On Crusoe Island were I cast forlorn, so I had Elia I should never be uncomforted, but from the summer morn to golden eve, fronting the chaining sea, lapsed in his fair enchantments, I should prove that neither grief nor time could steal my love. As he went bedward I would burn with him before the cobweb splendour of those arms, and word triumphant range at will the dim, deserted rooms, haunting their pensive charms. Or in the cheerful days of wasp-loved heat, read Cowley in the lowly window-seat. Mine too would be those reverend college walks, the trees of Christ's, the maudlin grove so green, the founder's dusky tomb, the silent talks with shadows of the past, the might have been of lost humanities and scented books from long ago in soothing cloistral nooks. If thus his page could sweeten desert isle and mournful fate, what magic might it lend to pleasant Hertfordshire? By lane and stile we traced the memorized way to Macquarie End, and home returning reached the temple bound, calmed by the ancient fountain's evening sound. Dream Alices he gives to lonely breasts, youthful romances exquisite wild thrill, and childless men amid their dark unrests, weeping with inward tears the end so chill. Untended by fond hands, have fathers grown and loved his dream-born children as their own? Dear are his vanities of cosy room, and charm of fireside talks by candlelight, of bygone playbills as in golden gloom we closer sit, fearing the swifter flight of time, who will not let us live for long, with piquet played for love, old tones and song. Elia, a happy, happy fate is thine, beloved for aye. In thee thy lovers see, thine angel child, half human, half divine, with sad sweet quips of tenderest irony, gently beguiling those whose cheeks are wet with hopeless tears of passionate regret. End of section 34. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 35. Voyage by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. A gentler clime o'er death, the calm physician saith, and so too thinking, shall I with yearning seek those lovely fields of beauteous art Italia yields, or 'neath the lion flag, my future linking with the dim past, live out my shortened days. Dear are those pale gold discs with faces dark, the song wild as the thrilling of the lark. But blood is dearer far than time's fair loss, so to the Southern Cross I am hulled down in glory, all ablaze. End of section 35. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 36. A Dream Return by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. By winding meadow paths, by rustic stiles sweet with love's whisper, down the sunny lane where gill lends murmurs, 'neath a scented rain of soft green light, I run the well-known miles to be at home again. The roof is very peaceful, guarded low, with old brown thatch, and walls of hawthorn white, mellowed and stained by sleepy time's delight. For here the moments linger, pensive, slow, and gently falls the night. And there are faces, long ago made dust, that lift to mine, and arms that cling around my humbled neck, and voices softly sound, as hand in hand with looks of loving trust we roam that haunted ground. The thatchy nest, the sheets from the shorn hedge, well lavendered in the oak kist, give sleep, save when the ancient clock, melodious, deep, chimes in the dawn, and from the lattice ledge answers each feathered heap. These rustlers in the ivy cheep and sing, and wake me to the vacant golden light and thin pure air, and in the dews of night I wash all aches away, and from the spring bear water, sunny, bright, the palmer's holy fount, the merry well, the ancient mask's clear fall, the nymphy stream. These are not dearer to the memoried dream than this poor hedge-side flow in the fern dell of light and sunken beam. I run to all, the hoary orchard born, the fallen beech adds to a bridge, the brook, the shallow silver plash, the deep brown nook, ambered with pebbles very thin and worn, so cool for rod and book. The doves are cooing on the barn's grey roof, a peaceful sound for sitters in the sun of afternoons when half the work is done, and bare and blue old parlock holds aloof, and curlews cry and run. End of section 36. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 37, Wanderers, by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Andrew Gaunce. As I rose in the early dawn, the stars were fading white, and on the slope of a green hill I saw a campfire bright. The tent behind, the blaze before, 3 loggers in a row, sang all together joyously, "Pull up the stakes and go." As I rode on by Eaglehawk, the wide blue deep of air, the wind among the glittering leaves, the flowers so sweet and fair, the thunder of the rude salt waves, the creek's soft overflow, all joined in chorus with the words, "Pull up the stakes and go." Now by the white of forest tent, the odor of the earth, the sight and scent of morning smoke, the evening campfire's mirth, the deep sea call and foaming green, the new stars gleam and glow. On the long trails of antique lands, pull up the stakes and go. The world is wide and we are young, the sounding marches beat, and passion pipes her sweetest call from each dim lane and street. So rouse the chorus, brothers all, we'll something have to show. When death comes round and strikes our tent, pull up the stakes and go. End of section 37. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 38, The Ribble, by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Anya. The Ribble. Roman Belisama, what hunter soul, touched with the quiet eve beside the roll, the ripple of thy stream, the Ribble named, in the far time, what warriors fierce and famed fought to and fro upon thy pebbly bed, dyeing with valiant blood thy waters red, and leaving their hid treasure for the hind, in after age with wandering eyes to find, gloating upon the hoard, what lovers true have trysted in thy glens when skies were blue, and April young in flower. I have had moods, during my wanderings in thy solitudes, when I have seemed to hear the whispering tones of those who haunt thy valley, low, sad moans, for ending our doors passionate and wild, for peerless beauty, beauty undefiled. So tired I, fain would I fall asleep upon thy sunshine bank, carrying the deep, blue peace of thy birth hills into my breast, rare with a sense of more than mortal rest. Loving the symbols of that world so bleak, the light austere, the lone hearth's circling reek, the bleat of sheep, the peewit's shadowing wing, thy tinkling flow and murmur through the ling, and by the wool-tagged gaps amid the thorns, the thrilling of the larks on Sabbath morns, and all the sunny silence, here grey stones, carved with the Perseus' arms with piteous moans, or prayer are built into the rough-hewn walls. There thy pure crystal brown with waterfalls and isles is beautiful. This limestone sheer takes the warm evening glow air. It grows sere in tenderness. And may I brood and pore on peel and keep and abbey grey and hoar, on coin and altar, lancet archivolt, and spent ampullae from the green-leaved holt, and on much human sorrow, pensive now, by time's soft lapse beneath the fledged bow. Following thy course, my longing eyes are wet, are dim with an intolerable regret. Ah, when my death comes, I shall be resigned, but still unsatisfied, if the south wind shall not have blown upon me by thy stream, once more but once, blown from the hills of dream. End of section 38. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 39. A Letter from Tasmania by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Anya Wijuwira. A Letter from Tasmania, Georgetown. Oh, sister dear, a snow-white magpie flew this morn from the dewed grass to a pear bough, and at the godly omen swift to you, my thoughts took wing, and they are with you now. What make we here beside the sounding main in melancholy? Of a truth I pass my life in Georgian stillness, and am fain, sweet to recall when we were lad and lass. I think of odd strange things. Has Lynn Street yet its sign of grasshopper significant to childish eyes of terror? Is there set still in old Friargate the elephant? That court, so grimy in the silent light of Sunday morn, through which we love to stray to Trinity, do children clad in white still thread its dimness, meeting Quaker gray? Ah, I can touch you with a pleasing pain, God knows with simple things. The winter glow of log and waxen lights, the ruddy stain of Christmas Eve upon the crunching snow. Does the canal still slumber foul and dark beneath the arched foundations, and the way of the old tram still wander to the park? The chains clank in my heart. Is all decay? Ah, as one dying on a foreign strand sees through the open door his friends depart, sloped on the wave and yearns for that dear land he shall not see again, so longs my heart. End of section 39. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 40. The Channel by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Caleb Stagayama. A tender, brightening flame shines in the eastern woods, and o'er the vale a star, forgotten by the night, is pale. And pure and gracious are the dew's grey tears, waiting the solace of the morning spears, and colour without name. Surely in time and space the azure of eternity hath peeped, for the great blue of air in heaven is steeped. The clouds are whiter than the heart can white. This inner sea is God's own thought of light. All show the eternal base. End of section 40. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Caleb Stagayama, Detroit, Michigan.
Section 41, Love by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by Andrew Gaunce. Love falters like a blushing child, and timidly with downcast eyes and wonder at his bosom pain offers his lips with sighs. Love is a dreamer of the rose, now waking from his dream to weep, now hiding in a world of bliss beyond the gates of sleep. Love is a mighty man of war with lifted shield and thundering voice, who seizes with a reddened hand the maiden of his choice. Love is a mourner wounded sore, freely he pours his heart's last flood, and wears beneath the waning light the crimson of his blood. End of section 41. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 42, Night by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Pale thronging ghosts of old, with lingering look and weeping of farewell, haunt memory's dews, and softly steal apart to some forgotten fastness of the heart, waiting for those their sweetness to unfold, born under sorrow's spell. This is not dumb desire, nor is it sorrow, but a longing vast, a sleepless yearning for a perished face, regret unfathomed for her pure sweet grace, for perfect dreams enfolded in the past, rising with night's spilt fire. The pageants of the moon, golden and red, with autumn trouble me. I have a thought that once, long ago, unpeered I held thy name in battle's flow, and cries the rapture of that time with thee, for meeting soon, oh soon. End of section 42. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 43, To Lucy, by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by Anya Wijiwira. To Lucy, I want you, sweet, you, only you. So swells my heart's great cry, for you do compass in yourself all that for which I sigh. O martyrdom of love divine, for me there is no rest. Where you are not my love, my joy, my soul longs for your breast. Give me today for after hours of reverie and song, a heart of glory in the gloom when days are sad and long. But oh, my love, give your sweet self, my treasure to be, and there will be no day of gloom throughout eternity. End of section 43. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 44, Wedded, by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. Aeries of lofty gums with rustling rinds, and noble sweep these lovers o'erspread, in the green halcyon wild whose gentle winds sing a placebo for the quiet dead. But they ride on with hope no more to part, hearing a song whose close leaves vacant heart. They lean together, laughing yet again, as with a snort their horses toss aside, parting love's kissing lips without sweet gain. And then they come unto a valley wide, and in an ooze of watchet air see near the spray surroil of the trembling deer. Ah, that rich vagamond whose sounding tomb were this wild land with loving soul to burn, his body left to store his ash with bloom, no nuts of crystal, in a humble urn. So with youth's care for gentle death they play, nor fear the shadows of that mortal day. And now with fire and horses tended he lies by her own command in peace most fair, and smokes his calumet of joy, while she moves beautiful enshrined in the eve air, and in her heart there sings clear, delicate, the song of songs, for she is love's true mate. Now, like a golden orb lost in the trees, the sun declines to dusk, and ruby flame burns on the stems, and with a whimper breeze up comes a spumy light that has no name, and hunting echoes rise from the far bounds, a maritude of exile in the sounds. Stand they in song like that which Eden sang, with the strange newness of their union dumb, its awe and mystery, each with a pang for the fleet maiden moments that will come, in all their passionate wonder nevermore, then close they on themselves the forest door. End of section 44. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 45. Franklin Square by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Anya Widjawira. Franklin Square. Once upon a time I stood, the spring within me mounting, transfigured in that radiance, the golden moments counting, when down the path came my dear wife, her cheeks like bramble roses, her clear blue eyes the sweetness held where love for aye reposes. Spring's living light irrelevant smiled on our happy meeting, floating from the vague elmy green, touching with dream our greeting. And straight we went to fairyland, all earthly cares forgetting, with Sally as of fountain flood, in the pale light upjetting. We went where death is never known, where life is one sweet maying, where dreams come true in happy sheaves, and elfin flutes are playing. And from that green and fragrant land we rapt for languid faring, a gleam to lie upon our days, when burdens we are bearing. End of section 45. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 46. Virgil in the Bush by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Now comes the very sweetest of the night, the poet's noon, and by the golden core of my oak log I savour time's soft flight, and steep my soul in fragrant Latin lore. I am for Virgil, lo, the college lawn, by Thames his side, and the thick scented shade. There with the treasured volume and the dawn, I roam the Trojan shore with a dear maid. The wind fresh blowing draws me to the deep, from home and pleasant thresholds far I go, and learn the long farewell of those who weep, the casting of the earth, the pyre's last glow. For her the fragile hemlock pipe I play, wreathed with dark violets, or sing of streams and hallowed fountains, and the idle day that fades at length to stars and happy dreams. With tiny waving masks I hang the pine to Ceres great, where sweet the milky corn swells on the greener stem, and carve the vine on beechen cups and hyacinths forlorn. O grave and sweet, of antique grief the flower, those words of purest sorrow, tears are shed for sad misfortune, mortal woes have power to touch the heart, give lilies for the dead. Our Italy is still upon the rim of all the world, though here a fuller gleam, and interwoven azure faint and dim, and blushing rose hint of Lavinian dream. Ah, love, the melancholy waters lave the silent shore, but ere we stoop to drink of that indifference we call Lethe's wave, of Virgil's perfect line we'll smiling think. End of section 46. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 47. A Sabine Farm by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Horace, the flying years glide by, and still we drain with thee amphorae of old Massic wine beneath the myrtle tree, and by the source of sacred stream we hold pale death in fee, with Chloe of the laughing lips and rustic Fidelie. Of late I kept a farm for love of all thy tranquil days, a sunny corner of the earth beyond my fondest praise. I wreathed green myrtles round my brow, and read thy ordered lines on yellow leaves as ivory pale, and drank thy classic wines. I lived untroubled by the thought of night and parting love. Me neither Gerion's triple frame nor Pelops' fate could move, and I remembered Plancust's year, the fire of love's sweet fool, and called for chaplets and pure nard by a brown woodland pool. My she-goat loved the orchard leaves, and plucked, chained to my wrist, as underneath a violet sky I lay in a flower mist. But then a Cretan came to me, and talked of moth and pest, and scorned the moss upon my trees, token of summer rest. The beauty of the briar rose, the blackberry's pale flower, the thistle's royal purple hue, the gorse's golden hour, the crimson creeper in the grass, the rush's greening lane, were naught, my orchard was not clean, we said farewell in pain. Horace, I may not keep a farm, short is the span of life, and kings and husbandmen must go where shadows hush the strife. But though the Capitol is dust, pontiff and virgin sleep, pure as a fountain in our hearts, thy songs well from the deep. End of section 47. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 48, To Our Son, by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. O Hugh, our son, our little son, we pray that God will keep your ways, and when this life is done, give you his perfect sleep. O child, we love you unto pain, we yearn to know your fate, we long to arm you with our gain, to bring you to the gate. Be pure, dear lad, be kind and true, fear naught, though one your side, be swift to give each man his due, let Jesus be your guide. Guard every thought, guard every deed, these die not in the past, the evil thought, the act, will breed and mar your peace at last. Keep in your soul a sacred place, an altar of pure flame. There seek in Christ the Father's face, calling upon his name. Remember, oh remember, Hugh, when we are gone to earth, the love so beautiful and true that follows thee from birth. End of section 48. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 49, War, by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by Thaddeus Smith. I have no war songs for these times, no sword chant fierce and bright. I cannot pour my soul in rhymes that rise not to its height. But could I reach down words from heaven, and dig them from the pit of hell, and spoil them from the grave-rot's leaven, then I might sing it well. End of section 49. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 50, Australia, by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. Those famous isles that stem Atlantic waves on Europe's western coast, now Britain height, have noble peoples, pacts of warrior blood, dreaming and passioned, stern and debonair, and these within the past unknowing bounds, an ocean rode, and made its hoary wastes mere highways for their valour, and its deeps a peaceful sepulchre. Their swarming broods now thinly hive in this huge continent, Australian, and not unlaurelled, hear voices that mutter of sad coming woe, when we shall be unfriended. Brother hearts, not of vain glory do I sing, nor joy in lion ramp and streams of purple blood, war's dreadful rubric, but I love this land, my foster mother, with a passioned love, and fain would sound a lofty trumpet peal, to rouse her people lapped in slothful ease, to noble pain of preparation, 'gainst the thunder breath and break of foe more fell than Scythian tambour-lane. A little while, and then the waiting grave. How shall we sleep in shame or honour? Oh, we know at heart this remnant valiant dust, lit by the star of liberty, will do forlorn high deeds. Each man death's whirlpool in the trampling throng, and die untamed, unbound, with nostrils cut in haut defiance. But, oh, take the time, and lift on eagle wing of fellowship, of proudest hopes, and truth heroical, and love in act, nor let our heritage lapse to a gulf unfounded. End of section 50. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 51. The Drum, by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. The Lord looked down from heaven upon the earth, and saw red war in throes of evil birth, springing to burn and sully his fair world, with sword imbrued and bloody flag unfurled. And through the air there rolled his sudden drum, heartbeats of men sounding the high call, "Come!" And Serbia replied, "Give me, though small, a place upon thy side. I cannot traitor be unto the principle of liberty that thou hast planted in the human breast, and in thy cause I will not spare my best. I hear the muttering of thy dreadful drum, I come." And Russia answered with a myriad shout, "We thank thee, Lord, that thou hast called us out to fight upon thy quarrel, for thou art the guidance and the worship of our heart, and we, through thee, love with a humble mirth the dewy perfume of our holy earth, the rapture of blue distance and faint smoke, the joys and tears so poor of lowly folk. The rushes answer to thy yearning drum, we come. And France, so debonair and delicate, heard in the echoing roll the call of fate, and pale and stern as sweet Antigone, left all her cherished labors to be free, color and graving tool, or pen or plough, resolved no more to tyranny, to bow. And so she spake unto the urging drum, I come. Awhile, and Belgium said, Take thou my heart, for thou alone, O Lord, art now my part, my only portion, children, wife, and home, land, ancientry, bereft of all I roam. I hear the whisper of thy muted drum, I come. And Britain rose majestic from her flood, much have I here to make life sweet and good, orchard and meadow deep in sunshine gleam, or dim with veiling blossom, faint with dream, a gracious past of pure immortal song, glory and love my peaceful haunts among. But not for these will I stand out of this, or rather for these I will win great bliss and fame, for high heroic duty done, mine still when I have passed to legend gone. So, Lord, in this fierce surge, take me and mine. Isles, continents, dominions, all are thine. We hear the thunder of thy mighty drum. We come. Italia, by all her sons adored, caught up her shadowy helm, her Roman sword, and lifting her great shield, rushed on the foe, no longer brooding with Virgilian woe upon the fates of men, but stern with high resolve at freedom's call, to live or die in fate superb. The Latin trumpets roll, imperial melancholy through her soul, steel-tempered, and like hurried bugles blown in some last soldier agony, the moan and stir of her great thoughts echo the drum, and from her flaming leaps the word, I come. Japan, the golden light of other years upon her past heroical, the tears of martyred Belgium saw streaming fall, and left the silent air, the springtime's call of white and holy bloom, the sacred dream of Fujisan, her delicate supreme symbols of art, and to the pulsing drum, samurai all cried in her song, I come. America, beyond the western main, with eagle eyes watched Europe's battle plain and barriers of death. Erect she stood, her garments deep with perfumes of the wood, the prairie, and the mount, and on her broke from 'neath a splendor of red rolling smoke the cries of freemen struggling for the right, couching old chivalries, and the murk night she cleft with her bright steel, hearing the drum and answering from great loyalties, I come. And other peoples pregnant with the thought of sacrifice for an ideal, wrought imperishably in the appealing cause of anguished peace and her benignant laws, dreaming no beauty in the laureled page, the drear defilings of the obscene rage of trampling war, the odor of the breath of dim corruption rising from the death of the young men, the purple of their blood spilt on the altar ground, the silent flood of tears impassioned, and the needlessness of this hushed Calvary. Though fain to bless the fathomless devotion that can raise the human spirit over hell-born days unto immortal heights, the peoples heard long thunderings, and by pure freedom stirred, enfranchised, cried unto the muffled drum, Oh, not for glory, but for right, we come. End of section 51. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 52. Missing by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. Far in the green haunts of the past, of old the knights went faring, but your great memory shall outlast the fame of their fierce daring. As through the wasted land you trod, you cheered the broken-hearted, the sufferer fallen on the sod, all who had loved and parted. Ah, when the sharp peace came, were you dreaming of your grey alley, or of the trembling of the dew in some lone bushland valley? Only the winds mourn for your years, in death so hot and hurried. Only the raindrops were the tears upon your face unburied. As you have died to make men free, without a thought of glory, the touch of martyrdom shall be the seal of your high story. End of section 52. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 53. Reims by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. This beauteous relic of an ancient world, this stately Reims, this sacred house of God, that sang in accents of a nobler day the lofty dreams of master spirits, now is whelmed in fiery hail. No more the light shall play upon its lavish bloom of stone, with gift of wings unto its soaring, or on its great angels and the holy ones met in a mystic measure. Ah, no more shall a religious peace brood gently here, in a sweet hush as of a festival, kept in a still and solemn ecstasy. The evocation of an exquisite, remote, sad tenderness. Oh, thus to burn this cradle of the memories of France, quintessence of her past, this pageantry of sculptured stone and bronze and rainbow hues, that set the crowning act of the sweet maid. Saint Jean, Saint Jean! Ah, when the mounting flames began their cruel work, what visions rose above thine agony! Domremy's vale, and winding river with its gentle lapse so wondrous cool, the flowering days of spring, the dance and garlands round the fairies' tree, and that midsummer in the garden shade, when spake thy voices, or the vision rare of Michael and the virgins, crowned and bright with heavenly glory, or the gallant charge beneath thy lilied banner, Orleans, Patay, and Troyes, and the anointing day in this then ancient Reims of that ingrate and foul blood royal, banner, sword, and cloak, and golden tabard shining like the sun, and glittering armor, and thy crowds of friends fell from thee doomed. Only our Lord was there. His name was on thy fevered lips, his cross before thy fainting eyes. Thou art with God. Thou, if misfortune can find place in heaven, must weep the fallen in thy dreamed-of France, and love thy ancient foes. Our chivalry fight now upon the faction of thy France, as erst they fought in noblest fellowship with Harry on Saint Crispin's sounding day, and deep have dewed with blood the lilied land, calling their sons and allies from the high dominions, feudatories, and the isles, rejoicing in a lofty surge to smite and burn 2 points of steel and thundering death. And we have given to thee a sister dear, Edith Cavil, who pale with blinded eyes but high in soul, in her Gethsemane died by a murderer's hand. Edith and Jean, the lily and the rose, entwined for aye. End of section 53. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 54. Forgotten by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. The white sunfire of morn, divinely bright, the misty gold of noon in a deep glade, the beauty of the dew on the green blade or in the cups of flowers, the dark blue night lit by the crescent moon, thin, silvery, sweet. All these are ours, while you are scattered far, dead to the sun, the moon, the lighting star, and all the loveliness youth loves to greet. Unmourned and unlamented shall you lie, forsaken in lone death, while we rejoice, forgetful of you, you who rose to die, a flame of valor, now one with the sod. If we forget, hear in your rest our voice. May we lie out, far from the grace of God. End of section 54. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 55. The League of Nations by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Simona Lovin. The League of Nations. A beautiful and tender note sound for the souls who dying fought for freedom's cause. Oh, let it float in grave sweet chording, then rise in an impassioned surge most terrible, a mighty dirge not without hope the clarions urge, the drums and swording. We stand upon the threshold now, immortal pinions fan the brow, new wonders wait upon the vow to die aspiring. No languors, doubts can forge the key of life, but the soul's energy, opening upon eternity, the beacons firing. O God, let in a surging flood, a streaming of the holy blood that flowed so freely on the rood, and make us wholly unquiet till we right the wrong, scornful of feint and hopeless song, nor dallying the shades among of melancholy. With the golden juice of heavenly wine drunk, we will do a deed divine, and uncreate the world by line of inward dreaming. And we will build anew with souls, by right and not of pity's doles, of beauty that eternal rolls from God's pure beaming. End of section 55. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 56, Wings of Desire by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Simona Lovin. Wings of Desire. Ah, Icarus! Ah, hapless flying man! Air winnower of the van! Thy father thought to breathe into the gold of his Chalcidian gate the picture of thy fate, the eddying fall that ended thy brief span. But at the piteous mould twice his worn features paled, his faltering hands twice failed. We, happier, can mount the air and soar, war torments over, the thunderclap, the blinding flash and roar, the stench and gore, but not the sweet accord, but not the love we hoard, and in the placid sunshine find release and a great peace. Rise we to cloud mounts with a mighty sweep, and view the austral land, this grey-green band of streaming wind-blown trees, this island continent of harmonies, subtler than all imaginings, and deep with shimmering gold. What joy untold to brood upon the visions of this land! The drifting sheep, the campfire's dying brand, the waving sea of wheat, golden and tall, the little farms each in its forest wall, the joys that pass beyond what memory sums beneath the shadow of the mighty gums. And as we poise on wing, abysses sing of infinite adventure. Sirius, Arcturus, call from the calm fields of space, and Uranus to roam with keen hawk face the ancient silver seas, to roam the Pleiades. O God, to mount on some bright dawn and find, O joy incredible, that old sun lane where Enoch walked with thee, where on the fiery chariots of the wind Elijah smote athwart heaven's foamy sea. O bliss untold, to find that road again, and borne up on strong pinions, glimpse the walls bastioned in glory, and the beauteous halls where Jesus reigns, and leads by the calm stream his saints, blood won from earth's unquiet dream. My soul, the wings that stir thy purged realm with premonitions of infinity, with quintessential joy of poesy, with shuddering thrills that whelm thee in a surging sea of love imperishable, rush of storming passion, throes imperial, sharp sweet, are an eternal careless call to rise, an Icarus in the great hush, one who shall never fall. O Icarus, a line of Virgil keeps thy memory green with those who climb the steeps of heaven on upright wing. And dreaming of thy prelude flight, I sing, dear bird, of all the future infinite, amid air solitude pure and sunbright. We shall bring life from death, and with unconquerable breath make of the wonder and the glorying light new will unto the final raptured height. End of section 56. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 57. My Song Unsung by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. Without the pale of time and place, I sang one night with raptured face of things of beauty and of light, called from the ages lost in night, touched with a grace of delicate pleading, so frail against their fate, to lie and waste, and then my song mourned for earth's pilgrims suffering wrong, how one desired with urgent breath the child that brought upon her death, poor struggler 'gainst the breast of him, the awful shade who makes more dim the veils of night, and of the man in anguish for her narrow span, holding her close, printing a book upon his heart with fixed look. But here my song grew to a beat, so piercing, melancholy, sweet, that Time sat grieving at my psalms, his skull sunk in his bony palms, his side sparing a rose as red as ever bloomed for a bride's bed. Beyond her date and death drew nigh, lifting his funeral torch on high. Above my scroll, O hidden face, Cal darkened, O the marble grace of those straight folds, a morning beam. Grief unexpired broke on my dream, and death and time rose to depart, to work their will upon man's heart. End of section 57. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 58. Is Life Worthwhile? By James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. It is worthwhile to have been a small child within the house, and to have known its beauty and its love, its tranquil summer eves lit by one star, the winter darkened streets and ruddy hearths, and all the passioned wonder. It is worthwhile to have been young, and to have walked the road in straight-limbed grace, and to have earned the cheer marking some victory on the well-fought field, and to have known the studious hum within high-litten walls as closing time drew near, and dreaming heard the teacher nobly fired emblem the Latin spirit 'neath the spell of the regretful sallowing of the light. It is worthwhile to roam romantic highways and behold the sun in his bright strength glorying along the forest roofs, turning their green to gold, leaves multitudinous, savoring the air yellow and full of light as some great wine, viewing the ships awash and swilled with floods, and the black jetty posts with rippling gleam, and touched with April youth to cry aloud, "Oh, there is none, oh, there is none but you," dreaming of kisses, joys unutterable, and days that are no more. It is worthwhile to read in books of human tenderness, legends heroical, great memories, and to commune with the high hearts of men, blood royal of the race, to place the crown, the clear and laurel crown upon their heads, in our lone attics solemn and austere, in faltered worship. It is worth while to love man's spirit, striving to express the faultless beauty of his dream in line or happy color, or in the winged flights, the pleading minor and trampling flow, melodious thunder of the circling spheres singing within his breast. It is worth while to have in struggle felt a stream of power rising from perfect images of rest, of health and great achievement, clear and bright within, and an indrawing of a strength aidant without, resulting in a life of manly quiet and stern probity and piety and truth, and to have given self in a perfect sacrifice to love, and to have made a way through this armed world for following wife and child. It is worth while to touch essential pain, enduring woe, to hold the psyche under rule, to feel if more tears fell they would be tears of blood, to enter in the lives of those around by sympathy, and bearing with them work for brotherhood. Aye, it is worth the while even to fall if nobly beaten down, sad but unconquered. It is worth while the slanting sun gold fading from the ferns, the amber crimson leaves slow circling down, reft of their summer glory, but endued with strange magnificence, and earth and sky tenderly gray, to know a perfect hour of ripened tranquil leisure, and of hints, enchantments magical. Ah, in those courts of greening gloom, to place the hurried soul beyond all hurt, by contemplation deep, in the pure sun of the ideal's dream. It is worth while to live the beauty of old wistful things, renewing ancient hours, in the half light to view those darkling forms, vestured with spring, her immaturity, frail, exquisite, or worn and wasted as an ashen moon, faint with all longing in a foamy stream of squandered high-embattled stars ensnared. Yea, in the cadence of our age's eve, in pensive retrospect that swells the heart, to bid farewell forever to the friends, spending the night in talk of friends long gone, the books, the happy places of our day, the vanished and the vanishing. O pain, solaced by that farewell! It is worth while to wander in the bushland solitudes, and by the wood fire watch the spiraling of the blue smoke, and taste the very tang, while round the tender azure distances merge in the thickening stems, and there to pore upon the secret of the universe, regarding the enclosing loveliness as something visible to tune the thoughts, invisible to that preluding peace, through which we climb the ladder mystical unto the final union with God. It is worth while to look upon the face of brother Death with steadfast eyes, to make unflinching search in those dark hollows for the mystery that waits his gesture, and the still repose of our eternal rest. End of section 58. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 59, Man-Soul, by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. O soul of man, what coasts lie in thy realm, far, delicate, and as pure crystal clear, remembrances of what thou holdest dear, ethereal, though envious time doth whelm with all-consuming fear, thrones and their chroniclers, these bide in light of fairy, born of the joy of youth, whose evanescence stirs a tender ruth, that keeps us, untouched by sullen night, their wonder and their truth. O soul of man, thou hast a power divine, to penetrate the mournful souls of things, sad in their dumbness, and on thy swift wings, with swellings at the heart of golden wine, from Heliconian springs, to place their beings in thy inner fold, where by thy beauty they enlarge thy life, and give thee freedom in the midst of strife, way from the clamour and the mortal cold, and care keen as a knife. They spread the forest roofs, the broad green glades, the murmuring waters circle islet stones, swaying the sedges with cool whispering tones, the moving mirrors of dew-laden blades, and leaves and rough fir cones, and there are amber noons and magic eves, and grassy moorlands quivering in the breeze, and crescent moons over warm homeland leas, and round the moon the stars, thy spirit weaves a net with sighing ease. There thy great portals ope in nameless hue upon the ocean, there in glorious white, and suns innumerable of golden light, morn ever breaks through, pure and thrilling blue, yea, on a splendour bright that trembles into diamonds all the field of nobly swelling billows to the far recess of violet shadow and the bar of the horizon. Ah, the soul is healed where such blown reaches are. Writhing, the seas run mountainous and strong, caverned and tumbling in a thundering roll, blood-red as with a light of burning coal, giving their battle and their roaring song unto the human soul. And now the trumpetings of doom are stilled in the large peace of evening's yellow glow, as if no wind again could ever blow, and in that graver radiance, mystery-filled, we other breathings know. Thou hast an alchemy to image there, all shapes of regal melancholy, sweet old fablings of the verge that make thee beat in perilous sympathy, feignings that dare to a heroic heat, and men and women set grim death at naught, again upon thy stage willing to die in joy ineffable, without a sigh, for summer days, because young April brought lips for a moment nigh. O love that brings new wonder to the world, that lights the ages with a starry gleam, the light of eyes long dead, still seen in a dream, stars that drew love though death his banner furled, and quenched his torch's beam. How shall we sing of those whose awful power can all illumine in a sun-like blaze, lifting the soul on high in garnered days, or darken with a sigh the earth in flower, withering the lover's bays? And there are nights beside the winter fire, ethereal dusk and glow, where thou, O soul, art satisfied as from the heavenly bowl, and canst through death see with a hushed desire the meditated goal. And wandering on we build of delicate imaginations that are musical with joy of their creation, festival and love, or on the ghostly notes of fate pause as they lingering fall. Ah, what a world lies in thy mystic ring! Yea, fallen spirits through thy dungeon light grope in the dread decay, mourning the flight of the white cloud, of the first gold of spring, so sudden, pure, and bright. And lifted lips of mortal cold chill thine in pale farewell, and on the distant verge lovers with passioned arms and crying surge, havened no more in beauty, wet with brine, their claims to memory urge. Yea, soul of man, vague shadows lurk and wait within thy Purlius, rare thy happy hours, cankered thy blossomings, thou hast no flowers of perfect bloom, uncertain is thy fate, the tempest ever lowers, and thou hast open wounds from old-time shames, grievous and foul betrayals, very hells of poignant memories, sweet friendship's knells, follies and ignorances, haunting blames for penitential cells. And, man-soul, thou art parched with a fierce drought, for something that the world can never stream, to satisfaction, some delight, some dream upon the prison wall, beauty about, beyond conception's beam. Yet thou hast high immortal joy and song, for thou canst love, thou hast a treasure store of dear remembrance for the silent shore, and Christ will purge thy sin, thy anguished wrong, and by his blood restore. Accept thy share of suffering, centre life, drain its great flagon, God's will be thy peace. From thy high post of trust seek no release, but bear thee bravely in the mortal strife. Thy faith and love increase, and darken though thou be, flame on thy part, and though against the peerage of thy foe, lose not thy harmony for any blow, but fly and sing within thy glorious heart, and unimpeded flow. O tremulous, close not thy guarded pale, but give to each forlorn a pure, sweet birth, and an environment that has no dearth of goodness, truth, and beauty, if he fail with a celestial mirth. Insphere him, and inspire that he may go from failure to fresh life for ever on, having eternity when time is done. So, facing God and nature, he may know what goal to brood upon. Thou art a flame that goes beyond the stars, seeking a kindred fire, a burning soul, unmoved amid the immemorial roll and change of things. There, breaking all thy bars, thou art wrapped in the whole. And from these white communions of pure bliss, though shadows close again, thou hast a choir of melodies from an eternal lyre, and reassured by Christ's redeeming kiss, thou canst for aye aspire. Ah, God, the finite cannot comprehend the infinite, but this we know thou art, a person, for thou speakest to the heart, implying kindred, and to thee we bend, praying thee to impart thy beauty to our souls. O let us be austere and solemn as a mountain height, against an evening sky, clear washed with light, golden. Father, thy children wait on thee. End of section 59. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 60, Passing by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. Sacred bell at eventide, calling, calling far and wide. Ah, so sweet and low, sweet and sad as autumn light, low and sweet as closing night. Pilgrim, let us go. Youth and beauty far away lean together in the May, shining head to head. But for us the solemn peace, do not sigh, and great release of the happy dead. Come as children steal to him who through all the ages dim offers calm relief. Stricken heart, so fierce and wild, come as comes a little child with thy wasting grief. Far above the creeds he stands, with his pierced and pitying hands stretched to thee and me. He is love's last tender bed, bosom for the weary head, to eternity. End of section 60. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 61, Sleep by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. Sleep comes at last. Oh, hasten then, my soul, and with thy songs of pure immortal birth, harmoniously build up a peak of joy for our bright tabernacles. Ah, but God is sweet and merciful, for when the song is finished and forgotten, and the brush is laid aside, and when the pliant hands no more by grave and lovely sounds can move, with tender evocations there remains deep sleep, the darkened earth's quiet repose. End of section 61. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 62. The Symbol by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. Thus pass the glories of the world. He lies beneath the pall's white folds. His sword is sheathed, his pennon furled. Him silence holds. The pilgrim staff, the cockle shell, the crown, the scepter of his pride, the simple flower from forest dell, heap at his side. And add thereto the wild heart flute, the voice of love and twilight song, those passioned strings, though he is mute, remember long. And move not thence his evening book, the sifted gains of calm and storm, and bow before that dust-strewn nook and silent form. Tomorrow hath no hope for him, no clasp of friend, no grip of foe. Remember love with eyes tear dim, we too must go. End of section 62. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 63. Prisoners of Hope by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Wandering Walker. I know through my lament for spirit daft, through weary force by which my life grows dim, for cruel warfare dark and wholly grim, transcendent God becomes within our earth, and so I chant my hymn. Though quick the universe we shall not see perfection in becoming, but there goes the flow of God involved, uniting foes, evolving, oh beyond, in wisdom free, to an immortal close. Rooted in plasmic form and primal mire, we are his children, eager for the light, for the response, the God divine in sight, and lifting by his power, we still aspire, lift from his altar bright. Aged yet fresh as April is the trust, the somer's guest, the germ of latencies of beauty, love, and joy, and we the keys hold for our sinking or our spring from dust. O guard those delices, transmute the essence into varied life, act for the whole, and as a little child offer thy will upon his altar mild, and now shalt find thy will purged from all strife is God's will undefiled. End of section 63. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 64. Symbols Inadequate by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. With soaring wings the soul of poesy urges her flight above the nighted earth and the dim shadowing clouds unto the stars with surge illimited. And in her course she summons towers of conflagrations vast, advancing there her potent, but to find no vesture for the throes magnifical that shake her in the presence of the power, the victories amplitudinous of God. With golden puissance and whelming might, she rushes on the heart born to receive, engulfing it in glory, turmoil, storm, and kindling it to sing eternal themes in noble rumage. But again she lacks the signs pontifical. Thus poesy yearns to express her amaranthine songs, but in her symbols, purged though they be, she can but handle cerements that pale and dull her shining, and make dumb her voice, and hence her martyrdom. But could she mint a language equal to the melody that thrills her spirit, that could form and clothe the pity for the sorrow of the grave, the joy and anguish of the lover, then the unhoped dreams, the halcyon harbingers, the strangeness and the wonder of her lips, fragrance incapturable, paradise would be our heritage. End of section 64. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 65. Light by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Light, oh, I cherish, light of common day, and those elusive gleams that shyly play with sweet remembrance, such as dewy wet, with azure lit the breathing violet of Perdita, the placid yellow beam gilding the narrow glen of the sad stream, the jaded gold that haunts each quiet wind of old deserted cities dim resigned, the long slant of the quivering moted ray, the autumn calm that broods upon decay, the strange light on the seal that tells of snow, the chilly evening's hearth of rich red glow that drives the shadows up the dusky wall, the fanlight's tracery on the gloomy hall, the lanthorn's moving spots athwart the pane, the rising moon flooding the watery plain, all these are premonitions, faint or lost, of the awaiting heavenly Pentecost. End of section 65. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 66. My Silent Kingdom by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Laurie Wilson. Surely before the gleaming of the dove, eternal fell upon the elder place of floods, beyond our fleeting time and space my kingdom is, and there in silent love I walk with quiet face. There nothing loud may enter, and the lands are hushed beneath a grave and mellow light, and winds blow soft, forgetful of their might, voiceful of rest, and calm the hourly sands lapse from the leisured height. Faint, wistful, few the offerings there have braved the chancings of the heart. There leaves unfold by bronze and marble haughty, pure and cold, with perfect words of human wisdom graved in melancholy gold. End of section 66. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 67. Ancient Wisdom by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Oft have I sat within the quiet shrine of those old masters of autumnal calm, to win the very spirits of their psalm of triumph, and to reign with them divine, crowned with undying palm. Nobly they speak. If thou wouldst be at rest, and bathe in stillness, losing life's sick fear, uneager, wise, thy soul a golden sphere, have no opinion, let thy well-loved best depart without a tear. For recollection, life with being fill, and like the ripened olive, let thy deeds fall in a sunlit leisure for man's needs, and move in silence by a perfect will, and seek immortal meeds. End of section 67. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 68. The Old Men's Song by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. We will renew our youth, no more forlorn, and sing the blood song of the starry spring, the vaporous golden white of early morn, the breathing bud, the light and soaring wing, forgetting all the heartbreak and the quest, the numbered hours so few, and the last vanishing and quiet rest beneath the solemn yew. Not unto us return inviolate the springtime miracle of hawthorn bloom, the thrill at some divine and passionate fate, growing with mystic meaning in time's womb. But the long leisures of our vernal dreams are dimmed, yet riched with tears, quintessence of old tenderness that streams from the far poignant years. Not unto us to feel again the sweep as of a falcon o'er the mountain crest, the hopes uncalculated, terror deep of lonely hours, the fearless love confessed, the perfume as of some ethereal May, the laughter delicate, delicious, and the golden-ended day that came, oh late, so late. As lovers gaze who know they part for aye, looking across a bridgeless gulf at eyes that light the world, yearning for love's sweet play, so with deep thirst unquenchable and sighs we long for vanished faces, other lands lamenting our years' fall, yet trusting that a touch of gentle hands will lead us through death's all. Oh, here upon life's lonely twilight verge we lie, so old, with eyes fulfilled of dream, nor can we turn our song into a dirge, for in the soul there shines a golden beam, and love is stronger than the yawning grave, oh, vehement and strong, and from the wrecks of living we can save courage and hope for song. End of section 68. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 69. Deliverance by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Among the mighty eucalypts he stood, fraught with the beauty of the solemn bush, the glades of sunny green fading to blue, the age-worn boles and roofs of drooping leaves, the winds deep with wet fragrance of the dew from hollow places, and the threading streams among the grasses and the pebbled earth, loitering in ripened leisure. To the east the ocean trembled with innumerable gleams, and emulous the barge's full-spread sails whitened the dreaming foam. The mountain loomed down in the west, blown with a fume of smoke of ancient forests. Slenderly a song, oh frail and lonely, of the rain-bird's pipe, sighed through the crystal silence, loosening a very legion of light-winged desires and murmurings within his bosom's realm. And all this flourish of bewildering bloom he peopled with old valor and disdain, troubling, unsullied, unreturning fames and legends, leafing into laurel green and fabled beauty. He with a slain pang of surging love kissed on the scarlet mouth the rose of all the world, of his true world, the lips of his beloved. Idling he lodged, ensnared, enchained, until the sundering night cooled the red smoulder to an ashen fleece above a fiery ember. Oh, then came unto the dreamer sibyl of old woes and forlorn burdens, and he strove with pain to cleave the filmy veils that ever grow before the real. Yea, he yearned to see himself in all sincerity, his pride and thraldom to outworn beliefs whose bands, swathing his unexpanded soul, were deep empurpled with his agony. for they, transmuted, so it seemed, were one with his soul's essence. Ah, there is a door into the realms below the conscious mind, where floods the universal. Could we pass its portal, we could gather all again the power and calm of nature, and could go into the heart of God, Jesus, our Lord, by virtue of his ambassage divine, moved freely in that region. A rough crest brought him again within the sunset's breath and golden splendor, and he cried, ensphered in glory, time could not embrown. Forgive, O God, my maimed and faltering soul. Destroy my kingdomed folly. Give an angelage before the end of open-eyed belief and strong denials, guarded, unenslaved, star-crowned. And thus he stood, imploring God for sight, delaying not the thunderstroke, the trumpet tongue, so that the soul might gain deliverance and expansion to her norm. End of section 69. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 70. Meditation by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Harvey. Meditation 1. O melancholy, tender human heart, grieving for battles lost, taking the part of ancient hopes forlorn, see how they go, earth's multitudes, some creeping on with woe, some riding helmed with flash and flame of grace, some dewed with unction of the holy place, and yet all bending to a wormy bound, a little hole within the dusty ground. 2. O still look out, may not that candor be the opening of a door upon the sea, that floods in golden waves before the light of the great adoration on the height? Those flakes so softly beating gloom forlorn, prints of his feet, who left Gethsemane for a triumphal morn? 3. That eastern hill was dark and sad below, and dark above, but with a little glow, over the rooting of the bitter tree, where bowed a mourning group on bended knee, while through the veiling gloom gold helmets dim marked where the legions of the cherubim in wondering sorrow gazed. That little light is now a dawn invading earth's long night with purity unorbed. 4. O light and sweetness of the Easter morn, the cup of blessing and the bread newborn, the song, the victor song chanted above, the darkness of the grave, the moist earth's love lives yearningly in her green buds and flowers, scenting the grass, the waters, and the bowers, and to our dream the vaulted azure sky, and the soul's highway to the bliss on high. 5. My vineyard and my grapes are honey sweet, and he, my Lord, with peaceful, beauteous feet, walks round my tower and vat and quaffs a cup, recalling that glad time when he went up to send the Paraclete. End of section 70. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 71. No Other Way by James Hebblethwaite. Read for LibriVox.org by Harvey. No Other Way. When breaking buds were cups of light, and breathed their perfumes in sweet airs, and crystal clear the murmuring fall whispered the heart to leave its cares, then fine-spun gold was all my thought. Of you I dreamed unto the verge of tears, and child-earth songs I heard, and far was an autumnal dirge. The soft and silent shadow slept upon the mountains, and the sea was blue as sapphire fabulous, and through me swept eternity, while from an open pane in heaven pure glories slanted on my earth, soft as the sheen of a rich cope, and filled with orient light at birth. From some hid furnace of God's love, raptured assumptions rose and fell, ennobled pallors of grave peace, in plenitude composed my cell. And so with forelay of the spring, insurgent flights of lyric cry, and regnant heart I took my staff, novating mortal colour nigh. Ah, but at evening, in the doubtful light, I came upon a river dark as night, filling the valley with the murmuring flow, neglectful, and I knew my way must go through that unfathomed flood whose only gleam crested the rolling waves with a pale beam. And in my heart there swelled a mortal pain, half given to sorrow, half to sweetest rain of farewell tears. Then I remembered me of a fair promise of felicity, whispered of old by my companion dear, Jesus, my way friend, and I put off fear, and waded in the shallows of the brim, and ashen grew my life, but through the dim, dark vapors, over lowlands waste and chill, there loomed in shining on a vernal hill, a city of delight, new, fresh, unworn. And so I deeper went, sustained, upborne by my Redeemer. End of section 71. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Section 72, Earth and the Soul by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by Sowen Kelly Park. Earth and the Soul. The earth speaks. Earth of my earth, child of my ample breast, being in whom my life burns to a flame, some of my glory, leave, leave me not. See, I have pleasures for thy dreaming on, O not ignoble realms. Magic of air and dewy solitudes, river and ocean wave, and earthly love so passionate and strong, my ancient voice heard in green loneliness, whispering old legends of my primal times, touching the spirit to adventures high, and soft, unmemoried sleep in my dear arms. The answering soul. Mother, I love thee so. Leaves and perfumes of the forest ways. Love profound and passionate and sweet. Melancholy infinite beyond imagination. But from the abyss, from the eternal silence comes a call, and I must go, unmindful of farewells, lone as the moon upon her pilgrimage, upon a visioned goal, until I reach the uplands calm of God. End of section 72. This recording is in the public domain. Section 73, On the Hilltop by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by Sowen Kelly Park. On the hilltop. Mounting the hill, I felt my burden go, my burden of dim sorrow and vague fear. With the ascension and a joyful peace reigned in my bosom as the glorious vale I viewed unhindered. Blue the channel lay, the outlines of its winding shores and isles, most delicate and clear, and its grey flow seemed calling to the opening majesty of some high capital. The farther hills faintly empurpled rose in tender folds, touching the white-plumed clouds. Turning I saw, beyond the neck, the ocean's shimmering plain, Aden of mystic longing. At my feet, the eucalypts sprang from a darkened mist, slashed on their roots with sunbeams, while above, the boles were half in glow and half in shade. And the hushed air that brimmed the valley deep was yellow with a fume of golden light, autumnal sweet and placid, reconciled. End of section 73. This recording is in the public domain.
Section 74, Credo by James Hebblethwaite, read for LibriVox.org by HiBC. Credo. Far in the past, the dread abysmal past, after the cooling of the pits of fire, the molten chasms and whirlpools of blown swale, pregnant became the earth with life, the gift, proceeding from some power
beyond her bound, yet immanent in her and in her guest. Piercing concurring elements, this pledge, molding the gnarly matter organized, a million evolutions leaguering, with thrusted courage and intelligence, until from the amoeba, pilgrim man, stood on the earth, care-wounded but still glad. O measureless the march from opening life, up to the beauty of an Imogen, the grandeur of a Lear, the mind sublime, of island Prospero, came man by chance, or accident, or by directed growth. O measureless the folly that believes he rose to his estate by accident, or wayward chance, or that Almighty God created in us thirst and hunger sore, for immortality but to deceive, a sorry jesting. Look upon the stars and keep still silence. Growth, creative growth, directed by the giver of all life. His self-expression is the quested word explaining man. He is the Son of God. And richly doth the Father give to him innumerable joys, the vernal shower, the fresh-blown rose, the sun-clad leafy hill, autumnal melancholy, but all are summed in love, imparadised in love. And uttering his name, that potent word, deep with all worship, holy and divine, we half awakened know a trust profound, a reassuring for our brooding on, and feel him as a unity of love, and truth, and beauty, seen in Jesus Christ, immortal values. And in the high Christ we drink the chalice of the life he brings, in pure abundance, suffering a change, unto eternal values. Hence we share his glorious nature and infinity. O raptured thought! But if we are at peace, in sweet felicity, if we regard death as a door into a larger life, unending, then most passionate must be our lives with consolation for the world. End of section 74. End of the poems of James Hebblethwaite. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.